So I want to start making this quick, get right into it. Everything's going to be time-stamped for you. There are 4 distinct chapters that I'll be making for you so you can go to exactly what you want. I know the video looks a little bit big. Come here, get what you want. If you don't care about the other sections, that's fine. So what we have first is I'll be actually demonstrating both how I did the measurements for the body fat estimation and the site I use for the calculator for it. Show you how to access all of that. Next, I'm going to go into, this is the big section, where I answer a lot of the questions and the common comments that came up on the primary what 15% body fat video looks like. So a lot of recurring ones, that's a frequently asked question section. Go there, I address a lot of it, give a little bit of commentary, etc. Third is where I demonstrate how I do the additional body measurement, so that way both myself and you can all have a standard, so that way when I go back I know how I did it and you can see how I did it, because a lot of people ask questions for how I did them, were they flexed or not, etc. And then the final one, which is where I'm going to actually be giving you your opportunity to do something, a call to action, and a little bit of what ingredients, just for consistency's sake, I feel we should all put in these what X body fat percentage videos look like. So hopefully for the community, we can get more of them, show more people, more backgrounds, more experiences, training ages, and what a wide variety of body compositions look like. So from there, let's get started. Going to walk you through what I'm doing with showing you how I do the body fat measurements. First, we're going to see the measurements that I use for the weighttrainer.com or .net formula, only 3, so we'll do those real quick. So to begin, it's giving me natural hypertrophy type of vibe, trying to figure out how to be able to show everything on camera properly, just in front of the camera. The only difference is I'm not talking as I doing it. He absolutely would. So here for the first one, the waist measurement for the calculator, you need to measure in 2 areas. First, directly around the navel, which I'm trying to show here. For that measurement today, it came out to 35 3/4 inches, but didn't really, don't think you could see that very well. Next, trying to show that you need to find a point between the sternum and the navel. So midpoint is the other point you need to measure for the waist measurement. As right in between sternum and navel as you can is, I don't know why they need that, but that's where they do it. So that came out to 33.5 inches. And then what you do from there is you take the average of those 2 measurements, and that becomes your waist measurement for purposes of the calculator. Next, trying to show the iliac, the bone protruding. So I'm hitting it to see like it's bone right there, and if you can feel it, it's usually pretty close to the skin. That's the next area that we need to measure, right around there. For all of these, you're trying to stand up as straight as you can, not trying to like flex or hold anything in. You're trying to stay relaxed and upright to get a proper measurement. This one today came out to 32.5 inches. And then last, we're going to have the hips, the final measurement we need for here that we're doing for this section. You need to get it at the biggest area of the hips, where the butt sticks out the most, to get the max size. For me today, trying to, whenever you wrap it fully around the body, it's hard to keep them tape measures straight, but was 41 inches. So that's what we're going to be using for the calculations today. Here, this is where I have to access the actual calculator. The site itself isn't up anymore. Hopefully we can find another someplace somewhere that uses the same formulas that Casey Butt created, which I like. It's easily accessible, way more accessible than getting in a professional to do calipers or like a DEXA scan or something else. So always simply go to any website archival here. I just use the Wayback Machine. BodyTrainer.net. Pick literally any active time. I just go to this big spike in 2012, pick a date, pick a time. And here we come. This is the site as it was in its glory days. Then we go to body calculators, the anthropomorphic method. And here you're able to see the more text about what it's useful for and what you input. So here for me, so I'm gonna put the easy stuff. So 28, 200 pounds, 72 inches, and then the measurements we just got. So as I said, we need to average out the two waists measurements, which I didn't write down that average, 4.6 for the measurement today. Iliac measurement we said was 32.5. The hip measurement was 41. So in the previous video, at the same weight, I said I was 15%. So let's see how good my measurements and stuff were, and how close we are. Boom, there we go, got it. Okay, so that was good. And this time I at least showed you on camera how I took the measurements, so that way you can reproduce that and I can reproduce that if I need to do it again. Now, any estimate, it's a variance, so maybe a percent or two higher or something. Who cares? It's about getting very close. The only way to become 100% absolutely sure that you have got an accurate body fat count on something is to take that organism, as in person, and then physically extract all the fat, put it on one scale, everything that's left on another scale, and then use that to calculate the exact percentage. The reason we don't do that, so short of that, we have to do some type of estimate. I like this because it's free. You need a tape measure and then the calculations, and that's it. You don't have to find someone who knows how to use calipers properly. You don't have to find like a place that has a BodPod or like a body or like the water measurement thing or a DEXA scanner or anything like that. Those can work. Get close. Electrical impedance, I think, is a joke. There we go. That's what we got for here. Address some of the questions and concerns and comments and such that came up in the previous video. Wanted to try to knock a bunch of them out here. Many of these I actually replied to multiple times in their various forms, but want to consolidate some of the big ones and common ones. So first off was the comment of, you're not actually at 15%, which is funny because a lot of people also were commenting, yeah, that looks like about 15%. But to those that said you're not, I mean, I'm fine with that. I also am not like gonna die on a hill saying I was definitely at 15% in the video. I believe I was between 15 to 17, which some said you look more like 17%, which is fair. It was also funny because some were saying, no, you're definitely way more than 15%. Look, you have love handles. Well, others were saying you're definitely way less than 15% because you have abs. Like, two of those comments were posted on the same day, just separated by a few comments from each other. So I was highly amused by that. So which is it? Am I way above or am I way below? But that's part of why I made this, is to get people closer to that middle ground of roughly what's actually accurate, as opposed to some comments that were saying things as high as like 20 to 22% or as low as like 12 to 13%. Once again, many of those were posted on the same day from the same footage. Now, as I said in the body fat assessment section of this video, like there's gonna be a range no matter what method you use that keeps the subject alive. No method's gonna be perfect otherwise. So I use the tape measure because it's accessible for others. Other ones are like, I think BodPod's one. I've done like the one where they put you underwater and weigh you that way. The DEXA scan, those are all ones I believe are decent. Also calipers. A few I consider as jokes are like the Navy method and electrical impedance. Those are not what I would use, but it's all going to be some type of, it's going to be a range no matter what. Even if they spit you out a solid number, it's actually a range. You might be a little bit above or a little bit below, just trying to get people a little bit closer. Next one that came up in multiple forms was, we need more content like this. Well, the last section of this video is calling you out on that. Anyone that believes that, I'm going to hold you up to it. That's also why this entire video, why I'm demonstrating how I took the measurements, assessed the body fat, and then I'm going to show you like what I believe are good ingredients to put it together for a video like this, so we can get more content like that. Put your money where your mouth is, I guess. Don't just comment that either you make something like this or encourage someone you personally know or you follow or something to make something like this. So I want to see some action. Oh, this was actually a really good one. I had to stop for a moment and think about and process this one. 12 years sounds discouraging. I said that's how long it took me. That's when I realized you can be truthful, but you can frame the truth in a more helpful form while still being completely honest. And yes, at the time of the video, I had been training about 12 years, and due to my circumstances, it took me several full times longer than I believe it would take most trainees to achieve what I achieved. But I didn't have to phrase it that way. A more helpful way of phrasing it would have been to say, I believe that a dedicated trainee with intelligent programming and training can achieve a physique similar to this within 3 to 5 years. Well, it took me several times more than that. That would have still been honest, but I believe it would have been a more helpful way to phrase it. So that was a very good point. I'm going to try to take that into consideration when I present information in the future. Honesty first, but we can frame it better. Another common one. You're advanced, not intermediate. So there's a few reasons why I claimed intermediate in the video. One was because in the back of my mind, I knew a lot of the internet likes to be very critical and sometimes contrarian. So if I claimed advanced, people would have looked and been more critical and said, you're not advanced for this reason, like your numbers aren't that advanced or something. Or by claiming intermediate, people instead looked and were like, no, you're not intermediate, you're advanced. So you already have a little bit of that. Another reason why in the video I stated that and put that as a title is because I have very high hopes and expectations for the community, and I felt like I'd be selling all of us short to consider myself advanced already, because advanced implies a lot closer to your potential than I feel I am, that I feel many others would be. So I didn't want to imply that this is just about the end of the road, like you're on the final lap or something. I didn't want it to sound like that, but short version, I just felt like I had too much room to improve to already be considered advanced. Now, a few different comments that they weren't all hitting the exact same thing. Some were saying body fat, your body fat percentage doesn't make a physique, or body fat percentage isn't what we care about. It's actually how much like fat is covering the muscle, or saying things like you can only get the muscularity in the core so big before you have to like get the fat lower. And there were a few ones. Some of you guys, your comments seemed a little bit too unnecessarily extra in your approach and your frame. Doesn't mean you were wrong, all because I don't agree with the way you approached it or the part you focused on, but felt like you were making it a little bit too complicated. But all of those various types of comments I all lumped in together, which were all basically orbiting around the same subject, which is not actually our body fat percentage or the measurements of our arms or something, or our weight on the scale, or many of these other things we discuss when improving our physique and when talking about lifting and training and health and fitness. Those aren't actually the things we care about. What we actually want is, depending on your exact goals, most of all of our goals are summed up in wanting to look better, wanting to perform better, and wanting to be healthier. All of those things, our weight, measurements, the numbers we lift, etc., are all various ways of us humans found to categorize and understand those and to measure that progress. Like we understand if we maintain performance on all of our lifts and or increase them while our body weight goes down, we know that's very likely because the amount of fat on our body is going down with the muscle staying the same, which nets in us looking better. That's also why the exact body fat percentage calculation and how we assess it doesn't have to be precise. It's just a way for us to measure it, and we understand it's not precise. We're all orbiting around a legitimate point. So that is a good one to bring up if it's a little nuanced for certain. This one came up a lot. So I got even leaner, but didn't have abs or barely had an outline of abs. The exceptions would be some mentioned they had like a lot of excess like skin covering, which sounds like from a lot of weight loss, which is different. First off, congratulations if that's you. You don't have abs, even though you're low body fat percentage, because you have skin in the way. That's because you got really lean when you were really not lean. Outside of that, there are a few reasons. It could be one, take all body fat percentages assessments, no matter what form you use, other than physically extracting all the body fat in your body and killing yourself and then weighing it. Every other method has a certain margin of error, so take it with a grain of salt. Don't completely trust it. You might think you're at 10 or 11%, but depending on how you try to test it, you may absolutely not be. Some people who they just eyeball it and assume stuff, like I've heard people be like 5% off or more, way more than the 1 or 2% potentially from like the method I use to assess. So that's one. You may not be as lean as you think you are. Two, you might have a little bit of an unfortunate body fat distribution. This is one of the few times I accept people discussing genetics. You might be at a low body fat percentage, but the way you personally distribute it may just be unfavorable. You might have to get a little bit leaner than the next guy to look as lean. Other people are the opposite. They store a lot, let's say on their legs and upper back, and not as much as a lot of other guys around their core. So they look leaner sooner because their abs pop sooner, without the third point to this one, without as much direct ab training. Now, the abs and the obliques and all of those are skeletal muscles just like everything else. Just like the biceps, shoulders, or all the muscles in our legs. Those can all be grown through resistance training. If you develop the muscles you want to see more, when you're lean enough to see them, they pop out more and you can see them earlier without having to be as lean. And that's why a lot of people were having such wild visual estimates about my level of leanness, because yeah, I may have had love handles, but I also had visible musculature that they normally associate with a much lower body fat percentage. So it really confused people. So those are a few things for why you might have got to a low body fat percentage but didn't have abs. Maybe not as lean as you thought you were, and you might need to do direct ab training. Your traps, upper back are huge, and your triceps are huge. Well, the video before this one, if you looked at my uploads, was me reviewing Alex Leonidas's Naturally Enhanced program, where he has what he called Naturally Enhanced philosophy, which is specifically developing the muscles that make you look big in clothes while holding higher body fat percentages between 15 and 20. And what are those muscles that he has you emphasize? The upper traps especially, along with the rest of the upper back. The shoulders, the long head of the triceps are like the main ones, along with like the neck and such. I was lazy on neck training. So, surprise, surprise, the muscles that people noticed the most were the ones I had directly trained the most. And on the flip side, it was pointed out, at the time of the video at least, my calves were lagging. Which you are correct, because you want to know what else is funny? During that time when I was running that program, there was zero ab training. So isn't it kind of interesting how the muscles that looked the strongest were the ones that were being trained the most prior to that video, and the ones that looked the weakest were the ones that were being trained the least. I'm not no like muscle doctor or anything, but there's got to be something to that. And finally, this also does circle back a little bit to I only wanted to claim intermediate instead, but this is the point that your physique and the numbers you can put up on big lifts like powerlifting or even in strongman don't always align like people think. There are some people that can, let's say, have a much bigger deadlift than it looks like. They might look like, especially when they're in regular street clothes, like they don't even lift, yet they can pull 700 pounds. And there are other guys that look absolutely humongous, yet can lift only a couple hundred pounds lighter than some of these much smaller guys. So it doesn't always correlate. And since my focus more recently had been on the physique and not on practicing the displays of strength, so not 1 rep maxes, I knew there might be a little bit of discrepancy, which some people noticed. I think my favorite comment, I can't remember the username of who commented it, but I laugh every time I see it. Your physique is more impressive than your lifts. That absolutely hilarious, which is, that's what I was going for. That's why I posted all of it, the measurements, the footage, and the lift, so you can just take it all in at once and kind of get a feeling for, like, how, for me, how closely I'll correlate. Other people in the comments were saying that they had done more performance-based training, so like Olympic lifting or powerlifting and such. So that means they might be able to have better demonstrations of strength than me, but may not have advances of physique because they might not have focused on the smaller areas that don't help with the lift. So those were all the ones that I was able to find and take some notes on that either seemed very significant to bring up if they weren't commented on very much or were just commented so many times. So I think what I have for you next is how I actually took the rest of the body measurements. So here we go. All right, next I'm showing you how I got all the other measurements for the rest of the body for like proportions and physique and all that. The one thing on the previous video is I don't think I used the same waist measurement in the video that I used for the calculation, so I don't know where I took it on my waist. But for today and moving forward, whenever I use a waist measurement, I'm gonna do the same method used in the weighttrainer.net formula, where measure at the navel and then midway and then average the two. So in today's video, that's what I'm using. I don't know what I used previously, but this video is going to be a standard both for others to be able to reference if they want to make a similar video or have some type of standard for how to measure, but also for me, when I go back and I want to take new measurements for progress, I can remember how I did it because I can see it on video. So here we go. So first, showing neck. I'm trying to show on video that I'm taking it at above the Adam's apple. So today that came out to a 15-inch measurement, but after taking that and then referencing back to my old video where I claimed I had a 16-inch neck, and also looking at other people's necks with similar looking sizes and realizing they say they have bigger measurements, I'm pretty sure previously I measured right beneath the Adam's apple and everyone else probably does too. So off camera, after I realized the discrepancy, I took it immediately, trying to be upright and not flex or anything. I took it immediately below the Adam's apple and came to 16.25, but here was 15. So I don't think in less than a year, while doing more training, my neck has shrunk an inch since that video. So I'm gonna say for my standards moving forward, I'm gonna do it immediately below the Adam's apple. That got me 16.25 inches when I just did that video, recorded this like yesterday or something. Next, for shoulders, what I tried to do is get it at the widest point of the shoulders, seen here, came out to 50 inches today. Because it's going around the back and you're trying to keep your arms relaxed at your sides and not lift them up and not flex, it can be tough to keep it on the back properly, but the widest point of the shoulders is how I measure it. Next, for chest, this you have to go under the arms, try to keep it level across the back and the sides of the chest. And I always have it go right over the nipple line, so that way when you're always remeasuring yourself, it's always the same. And then try to keep the tape relaxed. Don't pull taut, don't exaggerate how loose it is. And then for today, that came out to 40 inches. So obviously for these first three measurements, the neck, shoulders, and chest, doing them all unflexed, try to remain neutral, upright, and relaxed as possible. When you're manipulating your arms, it's kind of hard not to have that throw off shoulder measurements and such a little bit. But next, we are doing the arms. So upper arm, standard flexed. Try to find the widest point you can. Let it hang and then gently pull up the bottom of the tape measure and see what I get. Mine came out to 16 inches here. Once again, it is absolutely not showing well on the camera whatsoever, that shadow. Now for forearm, this is another one I sometimes get questions on how I measure it. I do it outright, my arm outstretched. I do make a fist, but I don't try to flex in this way. Just make a tight fist, but keep the arm outright and then measure at the thickest point. Today that came out to 12 3/4 inches. If you saw when I did the bicep measurement, the forearm looked a lot closer to the upper arm measurement when the elbow was bent. Didn't anticipate showing the floor when I made the video. But what I try to do for legs is I try to stand as upright as I can, keep the leg upright, not flexed, but straight, which is kind of tough to do when you're standing on it. And then I try to see if I can find the thickest part of the leg, once again, not flexing it, staying upright, measure there. Today that came in 26. Personally, I'm kind of worried about that. It seems like slightly bigger than I expected, even if only by a 1/4 inch, because I'm leaner than I was a couple months ago. And even though I've been doing a little bit more leg work, shouldn't be that much, but I know it's close enough. Last time I measured it was 25 3/4, so whatever. I don't hold tightly to it being 26 at the moment. If someone wants to call BS on that, I don't care. Calf, once again, this is easier to get consistent. Once again, try to have the leg straight, don't flex anything, and measure the thickest part. That came in at 15 1/2 inches. So that's how I do my measurements, or at least how I did them this time. Can't remember how I did them exactly last time because I didn't do the footage of how. So if I get some numbers that don't line up and seem a little bit funky when we look at them, that's why I probably am measuring different. But now, and moving forward, I'm able to measure them the same way every time. And if you want to compare your measurements to mine to maybe try to answer why maybe we look a little bit different, we now know how I did it. So, all right, next. All right, don't know if you decided to just skip right to this section or if you decided to watch the whole thing through. If you did, I'm very appreciative of it. But this is what I consider the important part about us trying to get more people in the community, whether it is you yourself, someone you may know who is a lifter or an athlete, or someone you may follow that you want to reach out to and ask them to contribute by making additional videos similar to this. So came up with a few things that just so they have something in common, and it's kind of easy to know what you're getting at for them. And so there's some structure for people that may not be used to making videos. Before I get into them, the first thing I will say is if this does catch on and we're able to get more people to do this, what I would like to do is make a playlist of everyone else's videos and have that actually visible on my YouTube homepage so that anyone that goes to my channel can see the what X body fat percentage playlist is. So everybody, all your videos from everywhere can all be consolidated on that playlist. I figured that'd be really nice things. One-stop shop. Every time someone shows me a new video that someone made from this, I could add it to the playlist. That'd be amazing. A lot of methods for assessing body fat percentage that I consider are worthwhile. Obviously, the one I used in this video that I showed you how to do and I used in my 15% video was the fancy term is the anthropomorphic calculator from weighttrainer.net. Some other good ones that I do believe are valid, you pick whichever one you prefer and you feel most comfortable with and is accessible to you, is hydrostatic weighing, where they just stick you underwater, have you breathe out and do math on you. The BodPod, another one where it's about air density instead of water and how much you displace. BodPod's a second one that is also generally good. DEXA as well, a scanner. That's one that most people have probably heard of. In calipers, if you can have access to someone that's been trained and certified to use them appropriately. Every one of these will have some variance. I discussed that in other parts of this video. None will be perfect. As I think I've said in almost every section of this video, the only way to get a completely perfect, accurate reading does not involve the subject surviving, because you have to remove all the fat and weigh it, and then you can be 100% certain what percentage of their weight was body fat. So all of these are going to be imperfect to varying degrees, but I feel they're all pretty good. So pick which one you can that you're able to use. Of course, describe which one you did. If you're able to get footage of the relevant measuring being done, that'd be awesome. That's what I should have done in my original video, which I didn't. But being able to do that, one of those standard ways. Other methods such as the electrical impedance and some other calculators like the Navy method and such. I prefer those not be used. I don't believe they're quite as accurate. And also a lot of the body fat percentage charts don't work very well because they show different body compositions alongside just body fat percentage. So those aren't the greatest. And then at least part of the title, to make it simple, being what X, like insert body fat percentage, looks like on Y physique. Just like in my video, I said what 15% looks like, and then describe a brief description of the type of lifter I am. You could do that as well. That would make it easy to catch on. Then we just look up what percentage body fat looks like, and hopefully a whole bunch of our different videos will all come up and they can see what most applies to them and what they want to learn from. So consistency. It also makes it easy to hopefully find them and put them in a playlist like I mentioned. And this is a really important one that I think would be great. Try to get as many different types of lifters, whether we're talking power lifters, other bodybuilders, or strongman calisthenics athletes, people that don't even do like lifting in a traditional gym, Olympic lifters or anything else. Like if you yourself or someone that you know does these other things, encouraging them to do that, because a wide variety of different styles of training and background histories would be excellent to demonstrate so people can get different ideas. And then a little bit of background for you or for the lifter, so that we can have a sense of their training background, their training history, what their goals have been, so we can understand a little bit of what they've been trying to focus on and how that might reflect in how they look and how they perform, and all that can kind of match with any measurements and numbers they're able to post as well. And I think those are, as far as I've been able to really think about it, I don't want to make it complicated. Really just to summarize, you have the methods of assessing your body fat percentage that I think are all reasonable. The basic title format, including as much footage and measurements as relevant as possible, and background about the type of lifter you are, training experience, and other stuff to kind of flesh out like who you are and what you are and how that all looks in the video. So hopefully not super complicated. I think it'd be great if we could get more stuff like this, because many of you in the comments on the video were saying we need more content like this. So yes, let's make more content like this. I mean, I still want to make my own videos, more of them, but I don't want to be the only one. This isn't about me trying to make stuff. It's about all of us trying to improve each other. So hopefully some of you start deciding to show what you've accomplished or encourage other people to make it, and let's see what we can do. Thanks.